This video is for adventurous souls who thrive in winter's embrace. If that's you, these Arctic treasures are yours to explore. I'm Melissa. This is CraftCrumbs. Thank you for joining me. This is a basket of miscellaneous items that I cleaned out of my craft room, thinking I was going to donate them to Goodwill, but I had second thoughts and thought I would try to craft with them after all. I'm going to first pull out these 4 mirrors, and these are some of the things I'm going to use to embellish them. I'm going to first clean them off with my mixture of water and alcohol. This is 91% alcohol mixed with water. And then I'm going to pull out this stash of beautiful winter transfers that I recently picked up from Amazon. I'm going to place them individually on each one of these mirrors. To start, I love this polar bear scene. So we're going to transfer that on there. It's really easy to transfer this onto glass. As you can see, it's pulling away beautifully. If you'd like an up-close look at these transfers, I'll link a video at the end that will show you my first reaction to the unpacking of these transfers, and I show you all of the beautiful detail in them. I wanted to create a foreground, so I'm going to cut another piece of transfer off and put it on the right side. I think this pine tree will be perfect for that area. So it's totally fine to stack a transfer on top of another transfer. Just make sure that you don't have any excess plastic that can pull at the original piece that you laid down. And I always take the back side of my transfer and use it to varnish the design down. And here I'm just simply removing the overhang. Using a coffee stir stick, I'm going to apply a liberal amount of Mod Podge around just the edges of this mirror, just along that beveled edge. These mirrors turn out so pretty. Each and every one of them is done differently, you'll see. I'm going to take some of this crushed glass and sprinkle it over the top so it attaches to that glue we just laid down. You want to make sure that you contain this glass because although it's not sharp to touch and have in your hand, it would hurt if you stepped on it or if one of your pets stepped on it. So just make sure that you keep everything nice and confined there. Starting on the second mirror, I'm using this square shaped mirror this time. I'm going to use, look at that beautiful fox. I'm going to use this smaller transfer of the snowman. I think it's so cute. I'm going to put it down in the bottom right corner because there was a defect on the glass that I want to hide. Of course, I'm going to get my fingerprints all over the glass as I try to do this. Now to embellish this one, I am just going through my little container here of different flakes that I have that I typically use for resin art, but I'm going to pull out some of these silver and blue flakes. I want to have a little more control over where the Mod Podge goes, so I'm going to apply it this time with a micro applicator brush. You're going to see me open and close things probably 50 times while I'm doing this, and the reason I do that is because Maisie, my cat, if you're new here, Maisie jumps up on the craft table randomly and she will easily knock things over. She'll actually knock things over intentionally and she'll knock things over unintentionally. Stick around until the end where we create a sweet story of friendship and an adorable penguin. I really can't tell you where I picked up these flakes. I probably picked them up randomly over the years or they came as a part of a resin kit. By the way, speaking of resin kits, this little spoon that's meant for pulling small particles like this as well as mica powder out did come included in a resin kit that I picked up from Amazon. So you can probably, well, I'll try to link something in the description for you if I can find these spoons sold individually. I have a fan on in my craft room, so these flakes have a mind of their own when the fan's on. Once I'm done with the silver, I'm going to clean off my spoon so I don't get it mixed in with the blue. And I'm going to tap on a little bit more of that Mod Podge, and then I'm going to add in the blue. I'm tapping it down with my finger to make sure it's staying there. And here I'm just wiping it off the corners. I'm going to go in and do the exact same thing in the top left corner. And then there at the bottom, I decided to feather that out a little bit more. So that's why you saw me add more Mod Podge at the bottom. Do you guys like to work with small particles like this? What about resin? I know that I've done a few small resin projects on the channel, and some of you have commented, many of you have not. So when you comment, it lets me know how you feel about it. When you don't comment, if you feel a certain way, I don't know whether I should create more of that type of project or if I should just let it go. Moving on to the hexagon, or this might actually be an octagon. I must have removed the feet from this at one point, so I'm just going to scrape off the remnants of that, and then I'm going to put different feet on here. How do you feel about the video so far not having music in the background? I get so many mixed reviews about the music, so I thought I'd experiment this once to see how the video does without any music at all. It's killing me because I can't stand dead air, but let me know what you think. In retrospect, I wish I would have found a different way to embellish this one, because using the clay embellishments, this mirror just didn't turn out quite as nice as the others. I'm going to make a few of these little pine cones and acorns. I actually end up using just 2 acorns and not using the pine cone at all. They are pretty adorable. Notice I didn't use any cornstarch in my mold. I'm not a fan of doing that. It dries out the clay. If you're needing to add cornstarch, I would recommend trying to get a better quality clay. I'm using Dawes here. I'll link some of it down below for you, as well as the other products that I'm using in this video. I've attached these little acorns to the top with the squirrels that I had already varnished on. And now I'm just going to add in some pine cones because I didn't like that empty space that was between the bottom of the squirrels and the mirror. I realize this video is a little longer than what I usually do. If you need to hop out for any reason, please give it a like and a comment before you go. Save it so you can come back later, and if you're subscribed, you can find me easily. Moving on to the circle, as you can see, I've already varnished down a transfer with a nice little bird on here, and I'm taking my puffy paint. I picked this up at Michael's. I really don't use it a whole lot, but I'm just making this little zigzag to hopefully replicate what it would look like to have little tiny snowflakes, or I should say icicles. Once all of that is done, I set these pieces aside for about 30 minutes, and now it's time to seal. I'm going to use this triple thick to glaze the fronts of these mirrors, as well as these tiny particles that we put on here. I'm just being very careful not to get any on the glass, but if you do, that's okay. Just go ahead and wipe it away. And here they are complete. Let me know in the comments what you think about these. We're going to create that little rolling pin next. This rolling pin was in the stash. I've had this thing in my stash forever. I think a friend gave it to me when she cleaned out her craft room several years ago, and it's just been kind of sitting there. I've never been like a tiered tray person, so I wasn't sure what to do with this. But I thought I would go ahead and do something with it, and if I have to donate it, decorate it, I will. I put on that blue and white flower, and now using some of this silver trim which I think is designed for automobiles. I'm not sure, but I had it in my stash and I'm just going to use it as tape to band off those ends and then pop some bright blue paint on there that matches the transfer. I had some blue paint on my hands and I also got some outside of the tape. So I'm just taking my micro sanding tool here and I'm sanding that off. You can easily sand paint off of natural wood surface. It's never a problem. I typically do it on the back of my projects as well if I'm creating a sign and get some of the paint on the back. Very quick and easy way to get it off. Here I'm just Mod Podging the entire piece. I didn't want the handle to look different from the center, so I just did the entire piece. Now I did just peek there and saw that there's something going on there at the end, which we're going to address in a minute. I'm going to use some of this lace that I had in my stash and pull it around the ends here. This is when the detailed glue gun comes in handy. Although I love this thing so much, I use it even when I'm not working with detail. I'm going to apply just a small strip of hot glue there so I can join these two ends together. Let's address the ends of the handles here. Do you see those little holes there at the end? I don't know, maybe this was attached to something else previously. It sure wasn't when I got it. But I'm going to cover those ends up with these half beads, and I'm just going to leave them natural. And this piece is done. I don't know, the lace may or may not be for you. It's definitely not an operable piece. It's a decorative piece, so I thought, why not? Do you think the lace is too much? And if so, what would you have done to embellish instead of the lace? These square shadow boxes are another example of things I have far too many of, and they were in a box set to go to Goodwill, but I decided to pull them back out and see what I could make with them. The problem is that I might make one piece and then I'm still left with so many. So what if I make a craft with multiple pieces? So that's what I'm attempting to do here. Now this paper packet came from Temu and they were larger sheets, I think 6 by 6 inches, and I cut them down to fit the inside of these shadow boxes. This piece is going to tell a beautiful story when it's done. I took some of this braided jute that I picked up from Amazon to cover the areas around the image where I cut the picture a little too short. And using wood glue, I'm going to attach these together to make one large square. While I wait on that glue to dry, I'm going to start working on the next piece of this. I cut a 6-inch circle in half. This was actually from a different project, and this was the leftover piece. So I painted that white with acrylic paint, printed out this "Let's be friends" statement on my Cricut. You can see there that I lost a portion of the B there, and I'm trying to get it in, but I gave up so easily. And then I'm just going to apply that after I peel back the film. Here we go. No need to struggle, right? I'm going to use my antiquing wax and I'm going to go over the words "Let's be friends," and I'm going to try to make this as dark as I possibly can. Even after I took off some of the stickies with a towel, it still pulled back some of the paint, but nothing noticeable. I'm going to give that a quick dry with my heat gun. Using what's left on my foam brush here and on this card, I'm going to go over it with a light coat of that same antiquing wax. And then I'm going to do the same on the outside edges of the box. Now this part I do regret, or I regret not doing it more thoroughly. I don't know that it looks that great. You'll see in the final reveal because I do tinker with it a little bit more, adding more of the antiquing wax here and there off camera. I'm going to go up here with a little bit of this transfer. I'm cutting away the parts that overlap because I can use those on the other side. Once again, pulling away beautifully, even on top of that antiquing wax. I mean, these transfers are awesome, you guys. There's the end of that pine bush or pine pick. I'm going to put that down here at the bottom. I'm just kind of filling in, trying not to waste, because honestly, I would have used something else here, so why not just use parts that came off of the original? Just trying to be decisive and failing here, but once I decide on a place, I put it down. I'm going to take more antiquing wax and just touch up parts of the words that maybe weren't as dark as others. To make this stand up, I'm going to apply just a random piece of wood. I think this is a piece that was cut off of one of those Dollar General tomato steaks. And I'm going to put this at the top of our box or square. To finish off the top edge, there's nothing wrong. I'm not hiding anything with the top edge. I just wanted to finish it. I'm adding in more of that jute rope. And here she is complete. I'm showing you here what it looks like with some of these little figurines that I picked up from Michael's. This tells a cute story. If you look closely, you can see that there are individual parties, like everybody's staying with their own clique, and then at the end, they all come together. Go down into the comments and let me know what you think about this beautiful friendship sentiment. Now that we're done playing with the Arctic beasts that everyone would probably be afraid of if they came face to face with, let's make something a little more friendly. Penguins are loved across the globe, so let's make one. Why not have a little bit of fun? I took this craft from the Dollar Tree and painted it with one coat of white acrylic paint just to give it a nice base. I cut down a piece of batting that would fit, and I'm going to use my Aleene's tacky glue to attach it. Don't worry about the glue that you can see through the batting. It does dry clear and it will not be noticeable within a few minutes. I'm going to glue around the top inner edge of the carafe and glue that batting to the inside. This is a large piece of soft felt that I picked up from Amazon. I'll link this down below for you as well. And I'm going to cut a small piece off of here. I guess it's not really all that small, maybe 8 by 12. And setting the rest aside, I'm not letting it go too far because I'm probably going to mess this up 3 times and need to start over, which I think I messed up this first time. And this is actually the second time that you're seeing here. The first time I did mess this up. So this is my second attempt. I'm measuring 3 inches from the top, and I'm going to separate these 2 lines that I'm cutting by about 4 inches. So they're 4 inches apart and 3 inches from the top. And I'm going to cut this centerpiece out. Now I chopped up a piece of scrapbook paper that I didn't like, and I made a heart. I'm going to pin this to the top so that I can cut out a heart shape at the top, and this is going to give us kind of like the framework for the penguin's face. Folding it in half just to make it a little bit easier on myself. We have to try to work smart, not hard, right? Yes or yes? So I'm just going to cut that out with my fabric shears. And this is what we're left with. I'm going to spend 20 minutes straightening it out for you. But here you can see that I cut it apart. You can see the measurements more or less. Now off camera, I glued this down again with the Aleene's tacky glue. I actually didn't mean to do it off camera, so I'm sorry about that. I tied it with some jute rope from the Dollar Tree, just inexpensive jute rope, just to make sure everything stayed in place while it dried. The felt that we used around the body of the penguin was a very soft felt. This is a more stiff felt. I'll link this down below for you, but we need something a little more stiff for the wings. Here I'm just shaping it, and I'm going to cut 2 of these. To attach these to the body, I'm going to make a slit that's the same width as the top of the wing and slide this piece of felt underneath it. And I'm changing from the Aleene's glue now to hot glue because frankly, I got tired of waiting on the Aleene's glue. Either will work. I'm going to do this the same way on both sides. I'm going to pin down with the glue just the top portion of the wing because this will allow the bottom portion to stick out and for you to be able to notice that there's actually a wing there. I wanted the tuxedo part of the body to extend more, so here I'm just making a modification. I cut out what looks like triangles so that it merges and blends well, and I'm going to attach that, and this is just going to bring that tuxedo out a little further into the center. And we're doing that as well on both sides. I'm going to trim off that excess. And I think that looks a lot better. So the back of this is looking a little rough. There's the shape that I cut out with more of that softer felt. And I'm going to glue this to cover up that back side. That looks like it's been through some kind of debacle. Here's where I entertain you with my inability to make a beanie. I only had a small amount of this fabric, but I so wanted it to be the beanie on this penguin. So I'll just let you watch in awe at how I do this. By the way, I am using a new software to edit my videos and to do my voiceover. It is long overdue. I am telling you this because I want to know what the experience is like for you when I make major changes. This software has so much more to offer. The software that I was using previously had so many limitations and it would cause me hours and hours of extra work. So this new software is actually very exciting. I spent a few dollars opposed to going with the free software that was clunky and buggy. The money is paying off. It is well spent. I always want to make sure that I am budget minded when I'm making upgrades and changes to the channel because frankly, this channel is broke, it's in the red. But I also want to bring you content that you can enjoy. So if you see things in the video that maybe aren't settling well with you, if I'm moving too fast, if there are too many cuts, if the transitions aren't smooth, let me know that in the comments or drop me an email. My email address is in the description box. Make suggestions. Let me know what's working, what's not working, if you feel that something needs to be changed. Be kind. I have heavy filters set up for the comments on my videos. So if you are rude, I will not see them. They go into a bucket that I never look at. So the best way to get your point across for something that you're not enjoying is to be kind. Here's where we are at this stage. I'm going to take my fabric shears and trim off the top just a little bit, just to open that up. Now this is a part I tucked in earlier. I'm going to cut that off so it doesn't add unnecessary bulk. I'm winging it here in case it's not obvious. I'm going to use a little bit more batting to beef that up a little. And I'm going to pull it all together with a piece of jute rope tied in a bow. I've never seen a hat that needed trim more than this one. So I'm going to use this black and white. It has beautiful contrast. I'm going to use that to trim our hat. I wasn't kidding when I said I had very little of this fabric. I pieced together 2 strips that were left over from my cuttings, and I'm going to make a scarf. A very short scarf, but it works out. I'm going to tack it down just in this one little spot to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Let's make a nose. No, let's make a beak. I didn't really know what else to make a beak out of, so I'm using a piece of pool noodle from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to cut it into the shape that I need it. Now, penguins are birds of prey, so it's going to have that pointed beak, giving it a coat of black acrylic paint before I glue it on the face. Let's make some eyes. I took a piece of that softer felt and I'm going to cut a circle, and then I'm going to cut that circle in half to make our eyes. You guys are so patient. Why are you so patient? This project is taking forever. Thank you for sticking in there with me. I promise it'll be worth the wait. Our penguin still needs feet and a tail, so I'm going to use one of these hearts that I pulled out of my Valentine's Day stash, even though this is not going to be a Valentine's Day video. And I used it to just trace out 2 of these little hearts that I'm going to use as feet. I'm going to Mod Podge that paper down onto those hearts. Watch this easy installation of the feet. Put them on the table, add a dab of glue, and set the penguin on it. Easiest part of the entire DIY. It's time to make the tail. I have this bow from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use the top part that I just broke away to embellish the hat later. But for the bottom part, these little wings or whatever they are of the bow, I'm going to color them with my black marker. I'm going to cut them apart in the middle because they're too far apart to look anything like a penguin tail. And then I'm going to glue them on top of one another to get them a little closer. Off camera, I had added this Scrabble piece to the bottom to level it up, and that's where I'm going to glue the tail. I used this small wood round to create a circle with that softer felt, and I'm going to cover up the bottom just to clean it up a bit. No uglies coming out of this craft room. Okay, so I wanted to do the underside of the wings. I wanted to do that earlier in the video, but I couldn't find my white felt. This is some of the stiffer felt that came in the larger pack. And although I didn't have white in there, I probably used it previously. I did find this light gray, so I decided to go in after the fact and add the lighter color to the underside of the wings because that's how penguins do it in real life. I embellished the hat with the top part of that bow we used earlier, pine and one berry, and then I added a snowflake to it and the scarf. And this is what it looks like complete. How adorable. Do you guys agree? Was it worth the work? There's a glob of glue where the trim meets the hat there, and I did go in with a pair of cuticle cutters and trim that off. I love her. If it's a her, I really don't care. It's just like a cat or a dog that you might get. You really don't care about the gender. You just love the baby. Here's a look back at what we created today. Thank you so much for sticking in there with me. Here's the video where I review the transfers shown in the video, as well as another option for those of you who don't care about that. Give the video a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, friend, don't forget to craft what you love.